Kai Havertz at Arsenal, a lot of their fans are now saying, why is Arteta forcing, that's a mistake by the defender, why is Arteta forcing Havertz into the team? We're a team that finished second, and now he's changing things.
Started playing Partey at right back and all that. No, do you know what, mate? I think that what we're going to find out very soon about Arteta is who exactly is he? Because if he is honest with himself, I think he drops Kai Havertz. And history has taught us that he can be a very ruthless manager. You think about what he did with Aubameyang. We've seen him get rid of players, maybe even prematurely. So he could do that. But I also think there's a chance that, when a manager becomes so determined to not be proved wrong that they commit to that player. So they start Kai Havertz again. They start him again. They back him, because to not start him, to admit after 3 games that he needs to be dropped, makes a mockery of the acquisition in the first place.
I obviously agree with you and agreed with you on your Havertz points at the time. Just to play devil's advocate here, is it a bit unfair to say that after 3 games?
Well, Adam, it's not unfair to say it after 3 games because, as you pointed out there on the overlap, we said it before he kicked the ball for Arsenal. Like I remember having that conversation, and both Carragher and Neville seem to kind of not get on my back in a aggressive sense or anything like that. They just both seem to passionately disagree with what I was saying. I
think what Arteta's trying to do, I can because what he's done is he's put Thomas Partey at right back, who I think, he clearly was trying to sell him at some point, and then that didn't work, go to plan, he didn't leave. Maybe his plan was to buy a new right back or something.
But the baffling thing is, the Timber injury has been an issue for them as well. Yeah. But the baffling thing is, through Arteta's brilliance, if you want to spin it that way, or Ben White certainly deserves credit in this, through the combination of the two, Arsenal have manoeuvred and manufactured one of the best right backs in the league in Ben White. So just stick with that.
But he might argue you want to be a centre-half long term. Sure. I don't think he's happy at right back.
One of the things that haven't worked though for them, I think, like Saka, what he used to benefit from really well was Ben White getting beyond him. I don't think Thomas Partey tries to do that.
What's happening, everyone, and welcome to the club. Now, before we get into this clip, I need to let you know that this video is sponsored by and brought to you by the wonderful people of Super 6. If you are new to Super 6, trust me, you have to get the app right now. It is truly brilliant, and it will not cost you a penny, and you could end up winning an awful lot of money. There is a mini league. Myself, Buvey and Adam all compete, and you can play directly against us. All you have to do is predict 6 scores correctly, and if you do it, you end up winning a fortune. The code is CLUB23, and we will see you there. Hope you enjoyed the video.
And I think what they've done is they've tried to change the way they play. Arsenal fans can correct us if we're wrong in the comments. And in like filling in, like with Declan Rice there, he's really good defensively, but he also presses forward. You have Thomas Partey there who can tuck in midfield, but he's playing at right back. You're having all these players so that when you've got 60% possession on the pitch, you're trying to get more attacking players into those attacking areas. They're probably trying to, because where did they lose it last season? Like we said, against West Ham, Southampton. So maybe they're trying to think, get more goals in this team, get more attacking.
But they didn't lose it because of the lack of goals that they scored. Like, they scored 3 goals in that game at home. They scored 2 goals. They scored 2 goals away at West Ham. Like, they were scoring goals. Goals wasn't the issue.
Taking Gabriel out, what have you made of that?
That doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy. They lost the league last season because they didn't have a spine, and Partey was part of the spine. I think they improved this season by having Rice and Partey and figuring it out. And then you bring on Havertz with 20 minutes to go when you're winning the game. Havertz brings no urgency, no adventure to the game, and it's been a complete and utter disaster. And the reason it has been is because the levels that City have set, one of the great sides ever to come out of the league. Already, Arsenal feel like they're behind. They're playing catch up already, and I know it's crazy saying that. And for the last 30 years of Premier League history, we'd never be saying that in August. It's crazy, but the standards that City are setting, it's absolutely crazy, and Havertz has been a massive handicap to them.
Havertz is a problem. He is a problem now, and that's exactly what he became at Chelsea, and that's the thing that doesn't make any sense about the signing. How can you sign a player who so drastically failed at Chelsea? It's all very well to spin it, and I'm sure now that the comments are going, he won you the European Cup. He didn't. He scored the goal in the final, and I will be ever grateful for that. But Chelsea were a terrible team with him in the team. Every time he started, he would cost Chelsea massively. When did he turn up? When did he grab the game by the scruff of the neck? So for Arteta to identify him not only as a good player, I don't really see how you can do that, seeing his form at Chelsea for 3 years. People will talk about what he did in the Bundesliga 4 years. Like, you're like, hang on a minute. Got 3 years of data in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But how can you see him playing for Chelsea and go, not only do I think he's a good player, but I'm going to redefine him as a midfielder. Nothing about Havertz screams midfielder. Think of all the attributes. Just really basic. Let's just be really simplistic about football here. What do you need to have? I'll ask you to tell me one thing, right? What do you need to have, Buvey, to play central midfield in the Premier League? One characteristic.
Bursting runs through the lines.
Okay, you don't have that. One characteristic to play central midfield in the Premier League. Just one.
Yeah, fight.
A fight. Yeah, be able to fight. I would say that's the first. Yeah, and certainly doesn't have that. Like, this whole myth as well, because of the way that he plays this kind of languid style, people kind of see him, I'm sorry to do this, but they kind of see him as a bit Berbatov-y. Like, his touch and that. Touch is crap.
Yeah,
touch is crap.
Slows the game down.
Mate, he doesn't have a good touch. You think he has a good touch because, well, people tell you he has a good touch, and also because he's quite tall and fluid and whatever. You think he doesn't have a good touch.
There's one quality, just to be devil's advocate, I'm 1,000,000% on your side, is I think he's got good close control. I think he can get in between little moments and kind of flick it 1-2s around the corner.
You're pointing out good characteristics.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's
I'm just trying to say there will be Arsenal fans. There'll be Arsenal fans saying that we're not addressing the one point that Arteta did think that in a side with far more possession than Chelsea, a Chelsea side that have struggled in the last couple of years, and they're more of a defensive side for sure. He thought at least that Havertz would be someone that could be the extra man in midfield that could be on the end of things, get into the box and score goals. It's not happening, of course.
What
it's not.
he's never going to do, and this is the weirdest thing. Generally when you sign a player, the player, look, I understand that it's a squad game and you sign players to elevate the whole squad, but generally speaking, you can see why you sign someone. So if you think of any signing, your club signed Kovacic, you can see why. You can see the hole that was vacated from maybe Calvin Phillips not working out and then Ilkay Gundogan leaving. A midfield was needed. Kovacic, you get it. You can debate how good Kovacic is or whatever, but you can see why the signing happened. Mason Mount signing for Man United. Again, you can debate, but it's obvious why you signed him. Whether it works or not is a different conversation, but it's obvious why you signed him. With Havertz, firstly, if he's going to play in the front three, he's not better than anyone that gets in the team or someone that doesn't. So he's not better than Trossard, right? So he's not. I think Trossard should be starting, right? I don't think Martinelli's playing particularly well, but he's not better than any of them. And then you look at the midfield. You're dropping Partey, who obviously...
I don't think they're dropping Partey.
No, they're dropping him out of that position.
Because he kind of has to play at right back because of injury as well. But I do think... Because they've got...
No, you could play Gabriel. You could play Gabriel and put Ben White
there. Yeah. Or Kyrgios and play Ben White in his position out wide. Like, there's loads of answers.
I do get what you're saying, though.
And Tommy Asu's back fit as well.
Yeah, there are answers that aren't this. There are answers that aren't what he's doing. And I don't... Do you know what?
Very open as well. Rice, Ødegaard, and Havertz.
There are some managers, and I've seen it. There's countless managers that do this. When everyone's screaming for something particular to happen, so dropping Havertz is the thing now. I've seen managers do this time and time again. They won't do the thing that people are asking for because they are principled and they want to be correct. But Arsene Wenger did it for years. Arsene Wenger stuck to his
stubborn, innit? No, great
stubbornness.
managers are stubborn.
Yeah, they're stubborn. And I think it'd be really interesting because when Manchester United line up against Arsenal, other way around, Arsenal line up against Manchester United, if it's correct and fair, Havertz is dropped. Yeah. But if Arteta is making a point, if he wants to make a stand, Havertz.
I think his level was so poor. There was a moment against Fulham where he gets the ball and he kind of passes it back. It nearly goes out of play. Nearly. I think Kyrgios
the reason
keeps
it
it
never
in.
made so much sense for me was the fee was everyone spends big money, but you've put a big fee on him. He's on relatively high wages compared to most of your squad, and he doesn't improve your first 11 anywhere. Now you could argue he gives you depth, but you haven't signed him for depth. He's not better than Ødegaard in the 10 or the 8. He's not better up front than Gabriel Jesus or Nketiah. You can put him in the wider attacking positions, but that's not his position. He's not better than Saka or Martinelli.
No, I think
it was just the heads. Yes, he might fit into what Arsenal do better than he did at Chelsea, but that doesn't mean he's going to be a good sign.
I think it was influenced by Vieira's failure last season. I think he wanted Ødegaard and Vieira at points to play. I don't think Vieira worked. Obviously, he's had a slight uptake in form recently for Arsenal, Vieira, but I think there's a world where against the Fulhams of the world, he wants Ødegaard and Havertz or Ødegaard and Vieira. For me, I'm biased maybe because I really like Emil Smith-Rowe. For me, is that Emil Smith-Rowe back a couple of years ago for Arsenal was an option, but at the moment his level's so poor he cannot be starting against Man United.
I saw a debate with Robbie. Robbie Arsenal. Right, I saw him having a thing on the internet, and the two kids were arguing. And one of the kids was so blind. He kept going, he's in an Arsenal shirt and you back him and whatever. And this other kid is going, Kai Havertz ain't good enough. Like, he needs to be dropped. And this other kid is going, you have to play him. It's 3 games in. You have to back him. He's wearing the Arsenal crest on his heart. You have to, hang on. We don't have to be as blind as this. Look, of course you pledge support during the game. Don't boo Havertz when he's on the pitch. Yeah, you've had him 3 games.
Arsenal fans will do that.
But after the game, the geezer who was basically going, I don't think he's good enough, was correct. You're allowed to say that after the game. Of course. You don't have to just be blind and tribal and go, Havertz is brilliant because he's got an Arsenal badge on.
All great managers have had flop signings, by the way, and Arteta's had a lot of good ones. But I think Man United had Jemba under Fergie, and we had Bravo with Guardiola.
I mean, there's loads. You know what I mean? There's loads.
But Arteta,
Guardiola,
by the way,
brought a whole new defence, didn't he?
And a lot of them struggled.
Yeah.
The big one for Arteta, he's not Guardiola, he's not Ferguson. I don't think he ever will be. He hasn't got enough. This issue he's got in midfield, it might cost them a league already this season, and then it's another year where they don't win anything major. I don't count the FA Cup as that. I don't. If they win the FA Cup or League Cup, it's not enough. They spent more than City in the last 3 or 4 years.
And the trouble is, because of the standards and the sort of redefinition of what Klopp and Guardiola have done to the league, you can't be dropping points at home to Fulham. Like, you just can't. Particularly against 10 men Fulham from a winning position.
You're 2-1 up.
You're from a winning position. Like, you just can't. Guardiola, and let's remember that Arsenal so far, I said they'd win the league. And on some level, I think they still will. I still believe that they can get it right. But they really, they now need to beat Manchester United. Like, there's no two ways about it. They have to beat Manchester United.